An American in Paris is a tone poem by the composer George Gershwin, written in 1928 and premiered by the New York Philharmonic. It's the first project of the George and Ira Gershwin Critical Edition that we're publishing here at the University of Michigan. A critical edition is sort of a deep scholarly research project where we basically try to find every scrap of paper, every recording, every draft manuscript in the hand of the composer to help us come up with the best possible version of what George Gershwin had in mind with the composition of American in Paris. This is our very first edition in the series that we see probably going on for decades. There are literally hundreds of little tiny differences between the score everyone's used to hearing when they hear American in Paris and what we've come up with through our research project. We've restored George Gershwin's original musical conception of the instrumentation, what we call the orchestration of An American in Paris. So we've captured, I think, the sound world of sort of the roaring 20s, both in New York and in Paris. Saxophones aren't typically in the symphony orchestra, so it's one of the spectacular recoveries we've made with this new edition of American in Paris. Another thing which has gotten considerable attention is our rediscovery of the original pitches of the taxi horns. The taxi horns were really important to George for this piece. He used them as a way to help tell the story, to sort of give the audience the sonic image of being in Paris. So you have the honking taxi horns. Those kind of sound effects is not something that Beethoven would use or a Bach would use. And so for George, it really meant this is the here and now. This is a music of my time. This is a music of modernity. And so the taxi horn is really essential. And it's more than just a sound effect. It's actually part of the harmony, part of the melody of An American in Paris. And so we found the original 4 pitches, which has this really high note and this really low note. It's a little bit more dissonant, a little bit more vivid and exciting, a little bit more humorous. So American in Paris is Volume 1, Series 1 of the new George and Ira Gershwin Critical Edition. I'm really proud of it. It brings together the scholarly work we do here with the artistic work we do here at the University of Michigan.
We have a number of students involved in our edition, from undergrads to graduate students, and we have a number of postgrads that have stayed with us after they've graduated, and they're involved in a lot of different ways.
We've involved our students in playing test performances of this work to make sure that we've got all the notes right, to make sure that musicians understand what the kind of notation we're putting on the page. The fact that this project is really part of a learning environment has really improved the depth and the quality of what we do.
So we're producing what we're calling a practical edition. What it's trying to do is be a critical edition at the same time that it's a performing edition. What we've ended up doing is leaving the score almost completely clean. So instead of including editorial marks that you would usually find in critical editions, so brackets, lots and lots of footnotes, all of that has been removed, and it's all reported in the critical report, which is at the end of the book that lists all of the choices and all of the changes that the editor had to decide to make.
I'm incredibly grateful for the trust, the confidence, and the financial support of the Gershwin family and the many donors who've made the Gershwin Critical Edition possible here at the University of Michigan. One reason we really need a critical edition of the music of George Gershwin is that attitudes about Gershwin as a composer have really changed. The current edition of An American in Paris, what people are used to hearing, is a perfectly effective edition. But I think the big difference is that when the editors approached that, they really saw Gershwin as sort of not having the depth of training that a classical composer really should have. The attitudes about orchestras and playing popular music were much more sort of conservative. So you simplify the saxophone parts. You make it sort of follow the rules. But of course, what makes composers interesting is the way they break the rules. What we've done really is put some of the angularity, some of the dissonance, some of the modernity back into An American in Paris. I've sort of, I think, brought out the excitement of the 1920s that's really part of George's sound world, that's part of what he's trying to evoke. And so what other people have sort of seen as, George's mistakes, we actually celebrate as George's creativity.